Halloween
Forever.
Guys, Steve, wait, hold on. Shit, fuck, I'm all fucked up. Steve, my boy, how are you?
I'm good, Ryan. Are you okay?
No, I am out of sorts, Steven. Not only we're experiencing some significant technical difficulties, you know, normally this thing runs like a smooth as silk. You know what I mean? That's a thing when people talk about how things run, they say smooth as silk, right? We're a well-oiled machine. Typically, we've been doing this for years. We're pros. All of a sudden, my computer decided to just not connect to the Discord. So we got things jerry-rigged here and I'm all out of sorts. Also, the other thing that's been bothering me, Steve, I don't know if you've seen this, all this looting and damage done to all these neighborhoods in France in the movie. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw that. It was pretty intense.
I think it might I don't know if the lines between the film and reality are blurring, but I've been really worried about this, Steve. I saw some stuff on the news that there was this looting in France, and it was terrifying because you know what? The only thing that I could see that was left, like, I mean, it was. I'm botching this joke so fucking bad.
I literally can't guess the
Steve.
Yeah.
All right, stick with me.
He's doing the wave, folks. He's got the best wave. He's doing the wave.
Steve, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm not giving up on it. All right.
Sure. Yeah.
I saw the looting and all the property damage happening in France, Steve. It was heartbreaking. Okay.
Sure.
I saw this giant cheese factory was severely damaged.
Oh wow!
Did you see
That's
this in
terrible.
the news?
Yeah, it's awful. It was terrible. How could they do such a thing?
Did you see what the only thing that was left in the footage of the damaged cheese factory?
I did not, Brian. What was left of the damaged cheese factory?
Steve, it was just debris. Welcome, boys and girls, to my live suicide here in the Discord. Welcome to Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Steve.
I would like to say that this violent, horribly violent movie that James picked for us to watch as a punishment episode was what was throwing me off. But no, it's the fact that I'm looking at my phone over here. I got my notes over here. It's all flip flopped. Mm-hmm. It's all topsy turvy. It's not what I'm used to.
It's upside downs.
200 freaking episodes or however many we've done. It's thrown me for a loop. I'm not that sad because the joke wasn't strong. But boy, howdy, did I drag that motherfucker through the mud.
Yeah.
That was problematic.
It was almost very much like this movie in which it was just protracted violence for an hour and 20.
I had to be dragged up the stairs and then have an amateur melt face C-section to get that joke out of my fucking mouth. That is exactly what happened here. If you haven't guessed already from one, the context clues were given, and two, the son of a bitch and name of the episode, we're talking about a pretty nasty little French horror flick from the year of our Lord 2007, The Inside, guys. Not to be confused with The Inside from, what was when did the American remake? It was like 2018, something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not to be confused with Inside or Inside Out or the 700 other movies that seem to share a very, very similar title. So we're going to be talking about that. This is a punishment episode that was decreed by our Patreon supporters, namely in this instance, James, who's here with us in the Discord. He picked the movie that, I'm sorry to say, but I would say predictably so, took it to us on the polls, on the old social medias. And Steve, you guessed it because it was the recognizable movie, right?
Yeah, it was a damn runaway. I think I've learned, interestingly, our followers on Threads actually seem to be a little more classy for some reason.
Yeah, sure.
Because they actually did vote Habit over the video dead.
Oh, wow. I thought I was going to be a third, like a distant third situation.
Oh, no, you're still just distant. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're both distant. Like the votes on Threads are nice, and they have a different barometer to them. But it was an absolute fucking runaway on Instagram, which like it was more than double both of our films for the video dead. So yeah.
Well, listen, this is we've discussed one of the pitfalls of our format here is if the Patreon subscribers win and it goes to a vote, or if anybody really wins, it oftentimes ends up going to the most recognizable title. But you know what? I like the video dead, and I'm not a sourpuss. I'm not a spoil sport. Steve, you appear to be a little bit of a sourpuss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it should be, because Prometheus, even if you all like the video dead, Prometheus is just better than the video dead. I even wouldn't say that it's better than Habit, because Habit is a completely different film that is a lot more serious, and it's a lot more adult film. Yeah. But Prometheus is better than the video dead.
I still have a headache from Prometheus, and I watched it like a week and a half ago.
And it makes you remember it.
Yeah, I remember it because of the brain damage that I got, the mild concussion that I received as a result of the screaming and all the squibs.
Sick.
Anyway, guys, James was pretty kind to us because this is a quality film. This is a quality film, and I think, Steve, you mentioned, and forgive me, I can't see the chat here because of our unique fucked up arrangement here is atypical. I think James had kind of a face and a heel pick for us, if that's what I understood correctly.
Yeah. James had a face and a heel pick, and he decided he wanted to be nice to us. I think because he just assumed he was going to win it so handily, so easily, and he did. And so he gave us this as his face pick, and then his heel pick was the Dead Pit, I believe. The Dead Pit,
yeah. Which is also not. I mean, it's not a great film, but I don't hate. It's not like that shit eater movie that you picked one time, or Fish Piss or something like that.
Right? Yeah.
It's still relatively kind. So we appreciate the face turn here at the last minute, and we got to watch The Inside from 2007, which I have watched, but it had been quite a while. But I knew there's not. I don't want to say there's not a ton of surprises, but like kind of once you get the concept of this movie, like a lot of movies, and perhaps there are some instances where there's a lot of influences that this movie has that it wears on its sleeve, but a lot of movies have taken from this movie over the last almost 2 decades.
For sure.
Some things that have become full-blown tropes, I would say, that come from this movie. So we'll talk about it as we get into the son of a bitchin' episode here a little bit further in a goddamn second. But first, what we got to do is let's get them drinkies up out the way. Steven, are you sipping on anything over there? Let me do mine first because it's completely boring. I'll be honest with you. Your boy's not feeling super great. If you could see me here, I've got a blanket on my lap. My eyes are a little squinty. I last night got my Crovis shot and my flu shot simultaneously. Did it all in one fell swoop and felt fine. Actually went out, had a couple beers last night, was feeling all right. Woke up, was feeling all right. About midday, starting to feel real poopy. And then literally slept for 3 hours in the afternoon. I'm just getting that little 12-hour situation that happens with I always get the little bit of a reaction when I get even a flu shot will kind of knock me out for a day sometimes. So I'm feeling a little yucked up. So I ain't drinking on any booze here currently. I'm drinking one of these fine Kirkland Signature sparkling grapefruit waters. I don't know if you could see there, one of these guys. Just keeping the hydration up, getting a little bubbles in my business, but nothing exciting here. Just wetting the whistle.
Okay, yeah, that's not bad though. It's all right. Yeah. You got your bad times happening. You gotta get through get through the sweats and the shakes, and then you'll be all gassed up and ready to go to fight the Crovis for the holiday season. Won't that be lovely?
Yeah, I've adopted the word. Last year I called it Covis, and then Crovid, and this year we've kind of adopted Crovis.
Yeah.
Which is a COVID or Crovid and Covis mixed is kind of how we've adopted it this year. So that's what I'm going with currently. But yeah, here's to not getting the Crovis.
I think I'm going to go with Crumb Bum. So Crumb Bum will be my code name for this year. But hey, everybody else, tell us your COVID code names.
Is that a reference? Is that a reference to that one video where that one politician's yelling at the reporter, and he's like, "You're a real crumb bum jerk," or whatever. "I want to fight you." You know what I'm talking about?
I don't. It sounds kind of familiar, but no, it's not a reference to that. It's just
okay.
Yeah, it's just me. Just I wanted to bring back the word crumb bum. Nobody's been using it for a long time, except for apparently some, I'm assuming, 87-year-old senator who's looking to start fights.
I would say this video was probably from roughly 1987. So this guy's definitely dead now, but he's an big older gentleman. And he's like, I think he's a politician of some sort. And he's being walked up to on the street because there's some sort of political controversy happening. And the local reporter comes up and it's like, "You want to talk to him about this?" And he's like, "I want to fight you. I want to." And he just fight you. Yeah, he's like a big guy, big kind of look. He looks like a Teamster kind of guy or something, and he just starts insulting him and trying to intimidate and trying to bait the guy into getting into a fight with him. And he's like, "You're a crumb bum. You're a crumb creep, and I want to fight you.
I want to fight you. You don't have the courage. You're a real crumb bum."
What are you sipping on over there?
I have something. It's boring for me more or less, and I feel like you probably wouldn't like it either, though. And I may have even drank it on the show before. I can't remember, but it's something I do kind of like. It's from Ellicottville, and it is their pretzel bender Dunkel.
Oh yeah. For a second, I couldn't see it when now you got it, but for a second there, it almost looked like it was Dogfish Head. I thought I saw Dogfish Head logo in there. Is it like brewed with pretzels? Is it like a salted situation? What's the deal? I don't remember.
No, it's just brewed like a regular Dunkel, and it's brewed for the Oktoberfest season. Yeah, but I still think it's probably too sweet for you. Like it has like a strong caramel and toffee note to it.
Yeah, I'm out.
That I think would go well with salty pretzel snack.
Sure,
but it's far from the style of a regular Dunkel.
Yeah. I had a lovely homemade fried soft pretzel for lunch today. We went down to Harmony. They had a little German Christmas festival thing happening, kind of kicking off the holiday season down in Harmony, and polka bands and beer and that sort of stuff. I was feeling right around the time we got there, I started feeling pretty poopy, so I didn't have any beer, but I did have a couple of dang good old snacks. I had they had homemade pretzels, which they were frying up right there, nice, hot, warm, fresh Bavarian style pretzels, which were delicious, a little spicy, musty. And then they had roasted chestnuts. How festive! Yeah, I had some roasted chestnuts, which my neighbor has a chestnut tree, and he oftentimes gives me chestnuts, and then I will I have actually a little pan to roast them over a fire. And I love a roasted chestnut. So yeah, just being festive as all get out this afternoon.
Fun.
Yeah, it was fun. A lot of just white people walking around.
Yeah, just white people doing white people shit. But it sounds like you actually should be like sipping on hot cocoa tonight with the way you're just like, I had a festive afternoon. Now I'm going to tuck in and put a blanket on my lap and I just have a little hot cocoa while I talk about French violence.
Well, to be honest with you, I was going to make myself I was actually thinking about making myself a little hot toddy before this, because I do have a little scotchy, and I thought maybe that would help with the overall yuckiness I was feeling. But then I couldn't find my fucking headphones either. So on top of all the other bullshit technical difficulties we had today, I also couldn't find my headphones, and I was deprived of my toddy. And now I am, like I said, I'm drinking on a little Kirkland signature situation. So I'll survive. All right, Stephen. Now I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's about time for us to spin that son of a bitch in spinny ass wheel.
Yes, it is time for me to correct you.
Yeah. Okay. No,
when
it's
you're
not.
Wrong. When you're wrong.
Okay. Cool.
Because next month is December, and December always means Secret Satan.
Oh my God. I can't believe it's already almost December, and we're going to have a Secret Satan once again, guys. And this year, it's more important than ever because all of these Christian nationalists, evangelicals are going to be out there banging that Jesus drum real hard this year, even harder than in recent years. So we need to make sure that we don't lose sight of our dark infernal majesty during this most blessed of seasons. So we're going to do it as we always do, a Secret Satan. Now, how are we going to do it this year, Steve, knowing we've got a little bit different format here with the patrons on the Patreon?
So actually last year we kind of did it the way I'm thinking we're going to do it this year because I believe Meg had already left the show and everything. So we had already reacclimated. So last year's Secret Satan,
she died. If you remember, she did die. Yeah, I mean, she did die.
You leave by dying.
Yeah. When you say leave the show, you mean passed away, shed her mortal coil.
Yeah, but also left the earth. Leave the show, leave the earth.
Yeah. Right.
Rest in ponies, horse girl, says Ron in the Discord.
Rest in ponies. I can't believe we haven't got there up to this point. Kudos to you, Ron, but also shame on all of us for not having said rest in ponies yet.
Yeah, shame on us for not getting there, but rest in ponies.
That's his shirt. I don't care. Rest in ponies.
We'll get there.
But it's got to be like a pony sitting up like the Undertaker or something. I don't know. Yeah. Of course, I immediately think of the Undertaker reference, but rest in ponies.
It's got to be like an undead Lisa Frank is like the style.
Yeah, like a trapper keeper, but like with a zombie pony or zombie unicorn or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyway, what we did last year is we did have Brandon, our friend Brandon Getz, the author. Yeah. He was our guest for Secret Satan, and we had our patrons pick the movies for us.
That's right. Yeah, I like that idea. That was fun. Yes.
So if you guys, if our patrons want Brandon back for December, let us know now, and we can ask him and probably try to book him. If not, we can maybe find a different guest. There's a bunch of untapped guests we've not reached into our bag for this year, so we can look into that. And then obviously you definitely have to get in movie suggestions, and you can all suggest the movie you want. You can suggest who you want that movie to go to. So if you have an idea for a holiday horror film, that's what we also did. It was holiday horror.
Right.
So if you want to just give somebody a holiday horror movie, and it can be a good gift, it can be a bad gift, it's you, the patron's duty, to decide who gets coal and who gets gifts. So it's up to you. And then if you guys don't have a consensus of who should get what movie, it'll go on the spinning wheel. And then we'll pick the movies from we'll pick who gets what movie from the wheel of suggested movies. So yeah.
Yes. The power is yours, in the eternal words of Captain Planet. So excited for that. That's always a fun thing. And like I said, it honors His Infernal Majesty, our dark Lord and Savior. And in this most blessed time of year. So get those suggestions over to us. Slide on into the DMs. And if you want to do that, you want to figure out some spooky ooky shit on the internet with us, go over to Instagram at Halloween's Forever. You can go over to Twitter. It's at Hallow Forever. Halloween's Forever on Facebook. You can send us one of them goddamn old-fashioned emails too. Halloween'sForeverPod@gmail.com if you feel so inclined. We're also, like Steve said, over on the... What's the other thing you just said? Strings or some shit? What is it?
Threads.
Strings.
we're also on Blue Sky, which is experiencing a bit of an exodus from Twitter, as Twitter has devolved into just fucking Nazi bots.
Yeah.
Like it's literally just like insane on Twitter anymore. It's impossible to like read anything without reading something that just makes you angry.
Yeah.
So
I finally took the dive after, oh boy, I was a relatively early adopter on Twitter too. I finally deleted the Twitter app, the X app off my phone, and was just like, hey, I'm done. I'm done. This is serving me absolutely no purpose whatsoever. This is pure diarrhea. And I finally just deleted the app off my phone. So
yeah, I'm getting real close to deleting us off there too.
Yeah.
Because our engagement is trash. Everything I see on there is like borderline evil.
Yeah.
And we get better engagement on Threads. And I can just work at increasing Blue Sky.
Yeah.
So just follow us on Threads and Blue Sky from now on if you're listening. I am very close to just taking us off Twitter because it doesn't even give us anything.
No, it's garbage, and nobody who I used to interact with all the time is even on there anymore. Like you said, it's just bots and you know, a few hangers on. So
yeah, bots and psychos.
Yeah. Before I forget, let's do one other thing. Let's real quickly remind our Patreon or potential Patreon subscribers what you get if you decide to join some of our other patrons here in the Discord and some of the other fun things that you get, Steve.
Yeah, so they get all that stuff I just talked about as far as the Secret Satan going. They get to participate in that. They get to suggest the movies. If you win, like James did, guess what? You also get to choose the punishment. And we'll fucking watch your movie. But also, I just want to let our patrons know, you can just suggest us movies to watch. You don't have to punish us. You don't have to wait to win a showdown. You can just suggest. It's your right. You're allowed to just suggest things.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to tell James, hey, you can just give us the dead pit and then suggest it inside. Because I mean, you did win. It's your prize to choose, but you know, it's up to you.
It's been a long time since I watched the dead pit. I don't remember disliking it, so I'm actually curious to watch it again.
I've never seen it. I looked at stills on IMDb, and all the stills on IMDb is just like a hot lady in her underwear. So I was like, I don't know how terrible that could be.
Could be worse. Doesn't I mean, the description doesn't sound like fish piss. Yeah,
exactly. That's the other thing is, patrons, if you're really going to punish us, fucking dig deep in the bag. You've seen what I've done to them in the past. Find that awful thing.
You know what's really funny is a movie that I picked as a punishment in the past, which was X-Day : hair extensions. Randomly showed up on Shudder. It's actually on Shudder currently.
Sick. Yeah,
which is wild. They just dumped a bunch of Japanese horror, particularly like J-horror, you know, 90 primarily
90s, early 2000s,
late 90s, early 2000s, right on there. Some of which great, bunch of Mike and you know, just a bunch of great stuff, but then also some dung on there too, which is always fun.
Sure, yeah. But also the dung is still fun too, because it has its own like interesting like cultural perspective. So yeah, the dung is fun as well. Yep. But yeah, so you get all that. You get reviews and recos that you don't see anywhere else, and you get a monthly exclusive podcast, which currently our series is Youth Group is Forever, which is all about Christian horror.
Yeah, Steve made me watch all the Fast and the Furious movies in our previous one, which you also get access to. We talked like for 3 hours on each one of these movies, which was fun, but the movies suck. Hot, sloppy shit. So as a revenge of sorts, I have picked a bunch of really horrible, like right-wing propaganda Christian and I'm using quotes here, horror movies that basically are just a bunch of ways to tell you how you're going to hell and why and how not cool hell is and all that stuff. So those are really, really fun. You should check it out. We make fun of them and wish ill on the filmmakers, generally speaking. So that's an extra episode per month, which is a lot of fun. All right. Now, all the pluggies, all the drinkies, all the yummies, all that stuff out of the way. Let's get into, I'm going to try to pronounce it in French. À l'intérieur.
À l'intérieur.
L'intérieur. AKA The Inside from 2007, not to be confused with Inside or 700 other. Actually, in some instances, this is referred to as Inside. In other instances, referred to as The Inside. But in any case, I would say à l'intérieur is The Inside, right? It's been a while since I took French.
I would even say it's To the Inside, but that's from my Spanish. But which, I mean, they're both Spanish, French, Italian, they're all the same as far as I'm concerned.
I once had a kid that I grew up with, two brothers that I used to fist fight all the time. They were two kind of bully brothers, lived up the road from us, like super white trash. Not bad guys, just had really tough upbringing. I think I've mentioned them before on the show. I used to always get in fights with them all the time. Anyway, I remember one, the bigger and dumber of the two. When we were in, I want to say 7th grade, we had to do like introduction to, like, you had to pick either French or Spanish. And then you would like get a little introduction class in 7th and 8th grade. And then when you went to high school, you learned like full on, you did like French 1, Spanish 1, 2, 3, whatever. And I went over and took Spanish, started taking Spanish in I think like 6th grade. So I could get up to like, I took like 5 years of Spanish. I don't remember jack shit. I lost it all. However, I remember when they were telling us this kid was pissed off. He goes, why we got to learn French or Spanish? I ain't never going to go to France or Spain. I thought that was really funny. And to this day, I think about that. Every time anybody says French/Spanish, like talking about school, I think, I ain't never going to go. No, I'm sorry. I already butchered it. Why do we got to know French or Spanish? I ain't going to never go to French or Spain. Which is a great quote. Sticks in my head.
I ain't never gonna go.
30 years later. Anyway, this is actually the directorial debut of one Mr. Alexandre Bustillo and Julien Maury. Maury.
I just want to, you know what? Hey, audience, this whole episode is going to have a lot of me doing French stuff.
Yeah.
And just let it go or turn it off. It's your choice, but I'm going to be saying these names with my whole chest.
Julien Maury.
Julien Maury.
I'm going to somehow I'm going to call forth the psycho French Canadian goaltender from Slapshot. I'm going to try to be that guy. Yeah, and they're known for a bunch of movies. Did we talk about The Deep House on the podcast?
It's definitely come up in being talked about. Rustin Pony's Meg, I believe she brought it up first to us. Yeah, and so like I think we mentioned it in passing, but I don't think we did an episode on it.
Yeah, I like that movie. I think a lot of people didn't, but I really like that movie. They also did the 2017 Leatherface, which is I would say mixed reviews at best. And then that's the only things I've seen from them. They also Among the Living from 2014, which I did not watch. Anyway, they are a directorial duo. And this was their debut, their feature-length debut. Let me read the synopsis real quick because it's pretty tight and it explains things fairly well. 4 months after the death of her husband, a woman, her name's Sarah, by the way, on the brink of motherhood, is tormented in her home by a strange woman who wants her unborn baby. That's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot else. Obviously, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of violence and blood and craziness and stuff like that. But that is a tight synopsis, but it's also a pretty no-frills home invasion psycho story type of thing. The protagonist is played by
Alexandre Paradis.
Alexandre Paradis. And then the which they refer to as Les Femmes, it's just like the woman, right? Beatrice Daly. And I don't know I feel like I recognize her face, but I was looking through her credits and nothing jumps out at me. Did you notice anything from Mademoiselle Dali that perhaps you recognized her from? Because I feel like I recognize her face.
Yeah, she has definitely a unique look to her, but nothing that stuck out to me. The only thing that stuck out to me was there's a film she's in called Lux Eterna. And it's like a film. It's, from what I can tell, it's an experimental film about witches, and it's on Shudder. Like, it keeps getting put into my Shudder, you should watch this.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay. Well, at some point, Shudder, I got a lot going on. All right.
Shudder is pushy in that way, but I will say, there are things that have been sitting in my Shudder to watch list for a long time, and they don't really put the Shudder like on the TV app. They don't put the Shudder. They don't put the like to watch stuff right up front. Which is why I'll put stuff on my list on Shudder and then not go back to it. Now, if you're watching on the phone, if I'm traveling for work or whatever, and I'm laying in bed watching a movie on my phone, then really great mobile interface, but the interface via the the Samsung TV or the Fire Stick leaves a little bit to be desired, to be honest with you. But
so two other places you won't recognize her from the one, but you might recognize her from ABCs of Death 2. If you saw that, I don't know if I have. She was in the segment that was also directed by the same writer-director team. From this
I saw
film. She
was in a couple of their productions. I don't know if I've seen the second one. I definitely have seen ABCs of Death. I don't know if I've seen ABCs of Death 2. Obviously, it didn't stick with me, but
yeah, even then, it was just going to be one small segment. It's one short film out of 26, and you're asking to be, remembering that one person. But she does have a unique look to her, so maybe you did.
Yeah.
The other interesting credit she has is she was in a film, not a film. She was in a TV show from 2018 that's also called Inside, and it has nothing to do with this.
Wow.
At all.
That's wild.
It's just another French production called Inside, and it's about like a murder mystery inside of a mental hospital.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, when I looked this up, so many things came up like on Letterboxd, and then I was like, okay, I got to figure out what year this is and go back, because otherwise I'm going to end up watching something completely different.
Yeah, that's what I tried when James told us what film we were getting, and I texted you. I was like, you know what? I got to put in the specifics of it's from 2007 and it is French. Yeah. Because everything else is going to fuck them over. Because even I had trouble finding it on Tubi. Just like I looked it up, found it on Tubi. Then when I went to watch it, I had to search it like in a different way. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I started watching. So I searched for the Inside 2007 on Amazon Prime. Something came up that was free, and it was the first thing when I typed in 2007. But then I started watching. I was like, no, this isn't it. It was the 2018 one. But the problem was in the description, it said based on the French horror movie from 2007. So 2007 was in the description of that movie, which led me to the wrong place. So then I ended up going
internet.
Some bitchin' internet trying to be too clever. But I ended up watching it on Tubi. Oh, by the way, I do want to give you guys an update, because I'm already on my, like I said, I had a festive afternoon. I'm already on my holiday horror bullshit. And let me save you the trouble, guys. I have Tubi on. It was just the first holiday horror movie that came up here. I'm watching a movie called Killer Raccoons 2: Dark Christmas in the Dark. Don't watch it. Unwatchable, very stupid, not even funny, and it has who's the fucking Ron Jeremy? It's got Ron Jeremy in it too, which is not a great sign. He is a sex criminal,
sex criminal and a bad actor.
He's bad. He's bad to look at. He's a sex criminal. Anyway, all right, let's get into the movie a little bit. We set it up.
I just wanted to bring up two other people in the film.
Oh, sure.
So it's just a real small role, but it's the nurse towards the beginning of this film.
Yes.
Played by Dominique Frot. And she is she's also in the movie Titane. So she just has just an interesting connection with another good film. And then a really special one that you wouldn't figure out, Brian. I know you wouldn't know this, so I found it out myself. Is in the scene where 3 policemen show up. Well, it's 2 policemen and a police lady, and they show up to her house.
Yes,
and they're talking to Sarah. One of those policemen is played by Tahar Rahim, and that doesn't make any difference to you, but to me, he is the villain from Madam Web, who was completely ADR'd in a 2024 film.
I see. He's coming up in the world.
It is wild. It is wild. He is he's the main villain, and all of his lines are ADR'd, and it is weird. Fucking terrible. I know you don't like those type of films, but I suggest watching that one because it is uniquely bad. You don't. Yeah. It's impossible to make movies like that in 2024, and then they still did.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If I could watch it, is it longer than Punisher Warzone? Because if given the option to watch Punisher Warzone, I'll just do that.
But Punisher Warzone rules. I'm not talking about movies that rule. I'm talking about movies that are bad.
But if I have the time and I'm trying to watch some sort of action non-horror thing, I'm just going to put on Punisher Warzone. No, I don't completely dislike any and all superhero movies. It's just, the whole Marvel. I've just never been a big Marvel guy. That's all there is to it. I was a DC guy. I was I like horror comics. Actually, I was pretty psyched on this, which I'm considering pulling the trigger. I know we're getting way off base here, but this movie isn't going to take a tremendous amount of time to talk about. Because it's just violence, essentially just describing insane acts of violence. But I saw this Kickstarter, and this seems like something Steve, might already be on your radar. But there's a Kickstarter for basically you can, and it's not that expensive. I want to say it's maybe $125, $150. And you can pledge, you get all kind of stuff. And also the Kickstarter is to basically fund the creation, printing, all the stuff of these reproductions of these old 40s pre-code horror comics that are cool. impossible to find now because I know but for those of you who don't, some of the horror comics from that the pre-code era are insane. It's kind of wild that they let kids read this shit, and that's why comic books got a really bad name, really lasted up through really today to a certain extent, but certainly up through the 70s and stuff like that, is because there was these incredibly gory, super suggestive supernatural detective comics and horror comics and stuff like that, and they're awesome, and they're super well drawn and stuff like that. Anyway, they're doing reproductions of them because once they started being really collectible, they're impossible to find, and if you try to buy them, you're going to spend way more money than you ever want to spend unless you're a bajillionaire.
That's an interesting that's an interesting thing, and I'll probably look into it more after the show. But it sounds like if they're doing reprints, then they probably have to scan the old pages and then retouch them, and
I think that's what they're doing. Yeah,
and then get a clean reprint, and they might have to source multiple comics in order to get because that's how they do old film reprints is when they have to source a bunch of the best prints to then put together the best print to reproduce for 4K or whatever it is. So interesting process and work.
All right, let's get into the son of a bitchin' movie, guys. We talked about, starts out with that aforementioned car accident where you've got Sarah, you've got her husband, and they you don't really see much of it. You just see a couple of crash cars, and you see Sarah and her husband are all dicked up, all bloody, all forked up. And then it's like fast forward 4 months, basically.
Yeah. It is funny, though, that one of the very first things you get is just that baby bonk into like the camera.
Yeah. It's weird. The baby. So this is the goofiest thing about this movie is you get this like baby cam. Where it's like a CGI baby inside of a womb. And in this instance, the baby gets brained because it's in a car crash and it's like boink. And it's this little smooth, like just kind of not very good CGI baby. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all right for the time, I guess, but it's not. Like, it's not convincing anyway, and it just comes off as very silly anytime they cut the baby cam.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this one is especially jarring because you're just looking at a baby, and then it just bonks into the camera. Like, it just is flung forward, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, it just looks very, I don't know. It's not good CGI. And also, like, showing a baby inside the womb having, like an emotional response just strikes me as odd. It's like bummed. It's like, meh. It's like pissed off.
Yeah, that's the other thing that happens is a lot is, cutting the baby cam and it's just like, it's frustrated. Like
he's frustrated.
Oh, you've upset him now.
Wait, no. How would a frustrated French baby express though?
Frustrated.
Frustrated.
Mama, I'm so frustrated.
So you don't know exactly what happened. It doesn't expressly show the little baby, like, head detaching or something, but you're just like, oh, a baby upset. Little French baby's upset. He like drops his cigarette or whatever.
Oh no.
Oh no. And now we're jumping like 4 months forward, and Sarah is about to get induced the very next day. She's at the her OBGYN or whatever it is, and she is going to get induced the next morning. She's kind of past her due date, and it is Christmas Eve. So I did not remember this movie being a Christmas movie, which is exciting. I wouldn't say it's big Christmas vibes.
No.
But it's fun.
No, it's not big Christmas vibes, mostly because Sarah is a Grinch and she has like no decorations in her house when we go to it. But there's like one instance of lights being outside in the background that I noticed. I was like when that previously I mentioned Madam Web character is outside and looking in her bushes. There's like some of those street lamp lights that we see on main streets down around here in the background. And I was like, okay, I guess it's still kind of Christmas.
Yeah, it's not particularly festive. We get like a wet, snowy, sleety situation at one point, but otherwise, not particularly festive. This certainly did not. I think the what service having it on this whole take place on Christmas Eve is that there is law enforcement is a little tied up, they're a little short staffed. There's also some, I guess, social unrest happening, which I don't remember if they really explained too much, but there's like looting and cars getting set on fire or something like that because someone, like a cop, shot somebody or something. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. When is France not rioting? It's like their favorite thing to do. Like, So yeah, their cops is such an interesting difference here in terms of like our police force here in the US versus the French police force. We'll get into it, but it just feels like a club, of just like people like, or just like a neighborhood watch. Meanwhile, the police here in the US are like, fully fitted with like riot gear and have tanks. So it's a different vibe.
Yeah. Over there, it is a bunch of well-trained guys who are just trying to, kind of quell the violence to a bit. But, they're kind of understanding because they're like just hanging out in that car joking with the guy. They're just like fucking with him. Like, hey, you want to go, you want to have Christmas tonight? And he's like, oh, I don't know if I want to have Christmas. I don't celebrate. And they're like, we're going to put you in a cell with the other guys. You have a good time. It'll be great. Yeah. In America, that guy would just be dead. It would just be dead because it would just be a bunch of psychos, running the streets in full like Batman armor, shooting protesters.
Yeah, he would just be a corpse. He would just be a corpse and laying in the gutter somewhere. Anyway, we get this nurse that just tells this heartwarming story about her shitty experience with her first child. And then Sarah, I believe Sarah calls her a twat, which is funny, which I do love that name. I think that's a funny name to call somebody. Sarah is in a bad spot. She's obviously depressed. She's sad. She doesn't really celebrate Christmas. She is definitely like you get the idea a little bit like relying solely on her work, which they don't really expressly say, but she is some sort of like photojournalist, I think, for like a newspaper or some sort of news avenue or something like that. You do meet her boss, who is like literally the one who's going to take her to get induced the next morning because she has kind of separated a little bit from her family. She doesn't have she's kind of separated from a lot of people, it seems. So she's all but kind of alone. It seems like her relationship with her mom is perhaps a little strained. So literally her boss is going to take her to the hospital, have her baby the next day, which is in and of itself a little depressing. Yeah. Sounds like a Ben Folds. Sounds like a Ben Folds song.
Sounds like a Tom Waits song.
Yeah, that's true. But like in the Tom Waits song, the boss is like just a slightly older hooker.
Yeah, yeah, right. The boss is the madam.
Yeah. But anyway, so she's kind of settling in, whatever. Then you get the doorbell, ominous doorbell ring. So this visitor's like, hey, I've had an accident. It's a woman's voice. We got to come in, use the phone. Sarah's like, nah, dog, I ain't having that. And the creepy thing about this, and I just watched Oddity finally the other night, and a really effective scene in that movie with a similar situation, but a little bit more personal and whatever. But I don't want to spoil it. But in this instance, it is pretty chilling when the visitor just drops the charade really quickly. Because she's like, my husband works nights. He's sleeping. You can't come in. And she's like, no, your husband's dead, Sarah. Like, you know what I mean? So it's a pretty cool, like chilling scene, and just completely gives up on the charade within 20 seconds.
Yeah. So I had not seen this movie before, and I wasn't quite sure where it was going. And my brain worked a little too hard at this movie because I was thinking that for at least maybe the first half of this film, that this was all going to be like a metaphor, that the woman actually wasn't there.
Oh.
Because there's that kind of Lynchian split of like Sarah goes to bed, so she goes to sleep, and now everything's a dream for her. And then so like the woman knowing that her husband was dead is kind of like internalized information that only a few people would really know. And so, and I can talk more about it when we get into other scenes, but watching it that way, it holds up all the way up to a point. And then I started going, this metaphor is completely fallen apart.
You were just committed to the idea that this is all a metaphor. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I had seen this movie. I'd seen the 2018 one too. So it was, the surprise obviously wasn't there for me. I also remember the first time I saw this thinking that it was based on a true story, like a true crime story.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I think it's actually more of like an urban legend. To be honest with you, because I was trying to look, because I was like, wait, was this based on a true story? And I started looking into it, and it was like, nah, it actually, there's been a report, but it feels like it's more of the the stranger in the backseat type situation. One of those just like urban legends that gets spread across a lot of cultures.
Yeah, there's definitely been all kinds of like baby stealing urban legends, and then I think the immediate true crime thing that pops into my mind is the Sharon Tate murders, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, it's a completely different set of like circumstances almost. I mean, it still is like a home invasion type deal happening.
Sure.
But like I just wouldn't equate it to what's happening in this film.
Yeah. Yeah. This movie, this is probably a good time to mention. You can see not all of, but a lot of the filmmakers' influences they're very much wearing on their sleeves, so much so that there's a few scenes that are full-on homages to specifically Halloween, but also a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff. I think those are the only two I wrote down, but there was a lot of you could tell they're heavily influenced by American horror, and like I said, specifically, there are probably 4 or 5 instances where it's like almost a 1-to-1 comparison to John Carpenter's original '78 Halloween. Which we get here in a second, which is I think well executed.
I think there's a little giallo in there too, just like the use. Sure, with it being the scissors all the time is like a very
scissors, and she's wearing gloves at one point early on. Yeah.
There's a little bit of giallo, just a little bit,
little bit. Yeah, you get this like creep shadow outside the glass windows into the yard, and then you get a glance at her face. And when this woman lights a cigarette, and the woman who we never learn her name or really her motivation aside from she wanted that baby, she has a bit of a ritual, almost like a ritual, like calming thing that she does, or like kind of refocusing thing she does when she smokes a cigarette, and she lights and smokes a cigarette, which comes back very much so at the end. But I do remember. I did not remember this actually, but this time around I was rewatching it again. It's been years since I watched this, but when she lit the cigarette outside the window and you see her face for the first time, I was like, "Oh, is it? Wait, I don't remember the killer being the nurse, because I thought it was the nurse she calls a twat for a second, you know?
Yeah.
Because it looks a little bit like her. It's not her. It's clearly not her. But like this, I almost got convinced. I was like, oh, I don't remember that from the last time I saw it. And then I saw her face again and actually rewound. I was like, oh no, never mind. It's not the nurse.
So, and that's the other thing that kind of led me down this track of it being a metaphor for like pregnancy in general, because when she's in the hospital and she has that scene with the nurse and the nurse is sitting next to her, the nurse is basically just the literal devil in that scene. Because she comes in, she sits down, she starts smoking right next to a pregnant woman.
Immediately, yeah.
And then she goes on to tell her own story about how her actual pregnancy felt like murder. Like specifically using the words murder. Yeah. And like there was so much pain, it was like a murder. And then she tells, oh, and then, you know what, never mind, it was stillborn anyway. And so it's the biggest fears that all women would have about a pregnancy. And she's being like injected with all of it. It's all being earwormed into her right before she goes back to her dark, lonely house that only has pictures of her dead husband on a wall. And so you can see how I think that constructs the psychology of a woman who freaks out in, like, you know, in her final day of pregnancy by herself on Christmas Eve. It's the most psychologically traumatizing way to enter a situation.
Yeah, this woman, I'm going to go as far as to say she has poor bedside manner. And that might sound harsh. That might sound harsh, but I believe she has leaves a lot to be desired in regards to bedside manner.
2 stars on whatever French Yelp is.
Yeah, whatever rate you rate La Doc on in France is, she's getting a maybe 2.5 because I'm nice. Anyway, so you get that creepy shadow. You see it's a woman outside, and then also, which this felt a little shoehorned in there, but you do get this thing where she was taking photos of this like family and a young child earlier, and in developing it saw that there was a woman like kind of stalking her. And if she would have saw that earlier, I think that would have made more sense, but it almost is like she saw it later than makes sense in terms of the development of the story. But I think I understand why they did that, which is to say they wanted a fast start on this movie. I mean, we get into the creepiness and the action and stuff like, I mean, it's like 15 minutes in, right? So this movie starts quick.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why they did that, which I'm glad they did that instead of, dragging things out just to build in that not terribly consequential element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a really well-paced film, so it's nice that, like, even though the little details that up front aren't, super important, and if you really wanted to sprinkle the clues, then you could, but why bother? Yeah. It gets revealed in the end anyway.
The cops show up, like I said, they are just the most exactly as useless as you'd expect French local cops to be. Like, they're just like, first of all, they just come in, they're like, before she even introduces herself, they're like, "Oh, we cannot do anything." And then they're like, she's like, "Well, what if I have a picture of it?" They're like, "No, it's too grainy. I can't see it." And then she's like, she can't, she's threatening me. She's like, "Oh, no, she definitely gone now." They're just not helpful and are just dismissive and are not rude or anything, but are just basically like, it's Christmas Eve. Somebody was probably drunk. You're not in danger. Get over it. We're leaving by.
The French don't have an equivalent for a Don Knotts or a, just, I don't know that the French have a word for golly gee willikers where they can just stand around scratching their ass going, "Well, Miss Golly, I don't know about all this."
Yeah.
I don't know what the French equivalent to that is.
Yeah. Who is the French Don Knotts? Is it, I think it's, what's his name? The guy who does the telethon. I think it's Jerry Lewis.
It's just Jerry Lewis, and that's ours. That's ours too. Stop stealing.
Yeah.
I do like that when she takes the pictures of her, that it's another one of those signs that the same way that the giving up the ghost at the door so quickly, when she's just taking the pictures of her in the window and she's just smoking and not giving a fuck about it, that's also creepy as hell, because it just tells you how little she gives a shit about what's about to happen next.
Yeah, this woman is she is not going to be deterred. She's extremely determined, and I would argue borderline ninja at one point. Yeah. It's a little far-fetched at one point. Who knows what her background is, but yeah, she's apparently like a freaking Israeli commando or something like that. I don't know. She just goes in and starts whooping ass, kills 9 cops. Like,
she trained for this moment for the past 4 months, Brian.
I guess so. Yeah, it would be funny if we got a montage of her like just doing fucking jujitsu or something.
Should have been the end credits.
Throwing knives. Yeah.
Punching a heavy bag, doing spin kicks.
So we get a straight up homage, like almost a remake of the Michael's mask peeking out of the dark room behind. It's not Laurie at that point. I believe it is. Was it Laurie? Boy, I should know this, but I'm trying to think of when she kind of pops out from he kind of pops out from behind. Or no, wait, is it Bob? I think it might be Bob. When Bob gets pinned up against the wall, it is Bob. Bob gets pinned with the knife up against the wall, and then you get the first kind of head turn of Michael Myers' career. I think that's when he pops out. Anyway, it's PJ Soul's boyfriend Bob. You think it's short for Robert? No, it's actually short for Bobbert. That's a little known fact there. I made that up. So that's the first straight up Halloween thing that you see. So she's in the house already. You know this now. Things is spooky. Things is scary. She's standing over her, while she's sleeping, she's poking around. She gets some disinfectant. She gets a big old pair of skizzers and starts dipping them in the disinfectant. So she's up to no good. The way she wakes her up, because you think she's gonna like wake up and like fight back, which she does, but she wakes her up by sticking one of the shears of the scissors into her belly button and then slashing her face, including her lips, with big like knitting shears. And you're like, oh, good God. And then you And it's brutal, and it's a terrifying scene. But then I will say it's softened a little bit by a quick baby cam of the baby going like, oh, like flicking its cigarette, like frustrated.
Mother, we are in trouble.
Yeah. What was that? The baby cam. Metaphor, I could do without the baby cam. I get it that they're making the baby a character, but we could do without French baby cam.
I like it despite everything wrong with it, and I would not cut it. I would keep it because again, this is still tricking me with the pregnancy metaphor, because at this point she's back in bed. She's relatively safe, assumedly safe. The other way to read that scene with the cops in the photograph is that she's not seeing the woman on the other side. She's actually just seeing a reflection of herself in the window.
Mm-hmm.
And this, when she puts the shears in her belly, it's not actual shears going in. She's going into labor. It's like her first real pains of like, oh, this is labor happening.
I understand. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I
can see that.
That's how I was reading it. And then the very next scene, she's in the bathroom and her water breaks. And I'm like, oh, I was just like, oh, okay. This is all just like in her head pregnancy thing.
Yeah. I mean, I like this. I mean, I'm tracking up to this point. I can see why this would make sense up to this point. Obviously, like I said, I had the benefit of hindsight, but yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to fall away. It's going to fall apart here in a minute, which I understand now when it does, but up to this point, that makes a lot of sense. Sarah goes and locks herself in the bathroom. You're starting to see, the attacker, the intruder, I was calling her in my notes, outside the door, and she's just having a series of episodes. She kind of calms herself down by like smoking cigarettes. We mentioned Sarah's water breaks, and then Sarah's boss shows up. He's not supposed to show up till 6 a.m. the next day, but he shows up because he was, concerned or whatever about her. I can't tell whether he's a bit of a creep or if he's just French.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah, it's probably both. But shows up, and then the intruder answers the door. Sarah's trying to be quiet, locked up in the bathroom upstairs. She acts like she is Sarah's mom. And of course, the boss would not have known what Sarah's mom looks like until Sarah's real mom shows up. And then you're like, oh. And then she's like, well, then if that's you, the mom, then who are you? And then the mom goes upstairs, and Sarah pops out. Sarah has got her knitting needle, which earlier she's knitting, and I'm like, hey, and I didn't notice the foreshadowing earlier in the movie, the Chekhov's knitting needle. But she waits till she pops out, and then accidentally Jamie Lee Curtis's her real mom in the neck with a knitting needle, which is a rough way to go. So she kills her real mom by accident by like I said, pulling a JLC, and just bink, Laurie Strode's her in the neck with a knitting needle. So again, not only the neck stab here, but later there's an eye stab. Like this is again a lot of Halloween references here. Now this is when things get a little bonkers, because the intruder goes up and attacks the boss. The boss is like, wait, what happened? Goes upstairs. He hears Sarah screaming, goes up. All of a sudden, intruder follows him up the stairs, starts stabbing him, eventually stabs him repeatedly right in the dick. Like maybe the most brutal dick stab ever put, maybe the most brutal dick injury ever put on film up until Terrifier 3 and potentially Pieces. But that is the most traumatic dick injury I've ever seen.
Well,
and then
up until Piranha 3D, Brian. Well, please.
That's not traumatic. That's a piranha eating someone's dick off. But that is it's followed up by equally, this woman loves to stab a face. Mm-hmm. That is her. I would go as far as to say that's her kink. She loves to stab somebody in the face. Yeah. And there is few things, because the skull is, of course, such an unstabbable surface,
Right.
Unless you're a zombie and you're kind of like gushy, and it's like Walking Dead style where you can just walk around stabbing people in the brain all day. Typically speaking, you're getting stabbed in the gut, you're getting stabbed in the chest, you're getting stabbed other places. Not a lot of face stabbing. And this movie, the French in general, I would go as far as to say, not afraid of a face stab.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I would argue that this is part of her character, like before she decided to become a murderer / baby taker. She just was a face slasher. Like she just did that. And so she already had that skill.
Yeah. They are all about facial injuries in just like the French new French extremists horror films and the similar ilk. They love to injure a face.
So here is where just before my metaphor falls apart, because Sarah kills her mother, and that's been a thing that that's already a tension that we've been set up with.
Yes.
So it's just kind of like a final nail in the coffin that like this pregnancy is going to be the end of their relationship.
Yeah.
And then the woman, who at this point I have equated to the pregnancy and the child, kills her boss, meaning that it's the end of her career.
Yeah.
So still metaphorically, these are the things happening at the same time. And I was like, okay. And then after this is where it falls apart, because I'm like, I don't know how the police figure into this. And that guy was just he was captured. He was just doing riots.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a metaphor for the French riots in here anywhere. Perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah. It started to have to get stretched thinner and thinner and thinner until it's like, wait, no, this is obviously not a metaphor. But yeah, I can follow it right up till the mom and the boss and stuff. But once the cops come into play and the perp kind of goes out the window.
Yeah. I wonder if that was purposeful, though, in that they set this film up to make you believe that it was supposed to be kind of this. Because is this before or after High Tension?
This is. I thought High Tension was like 2005. Why do I want to say 2004, 2005?
2003.
Okay, there we go. Because I remember it came out when I was in high school. So there you go. Yeah. I guess I was out of high school 2005, but it was around that time.
Yeah. Well, I think it came out 2003, but we maybe didn't get it over here till 2005 is maybe that deal. But so High Tension has that fucking ending that bothers everybody because it completely offsets everything else. And you're like, well, how could have she interacted with these people at these times? And so everybody gets upset that way. So I'm wondering if this film purposely set itself up like that as well, because it starts off with like, oh, okay, so the woman probably isn't really there. She's probably just in her head, just like High Tension. Yeah. And then you see her interact with the boss and the mom, and you go, oh, what's this movie doing, movie? What are you doing?
You being a silly old movie.
But then it turns out it actually just is surface value, and you go, oh. Okay.
All right. We're not as clever. I'm getting a little too clever with it.
Then it does have its own twist at the end, and you go, oh, sure. Oh, neat. How about that?
Yeah. So, this is really where we strip into like it's a battle royale situation between Sarah and the intruder. I won't get into all the details. There's she gets some hits in on the intruder, breaking a knitting needle off in her arm. Pretty brutal scene of like she pins her hand when she's trying to get out, when she's talking to the cops, pins her hand to the wall with the scissors. But one thing that I would love to hear like your take on here is that crazy like it's not even a music sting. It's like a sonic screech that happens whenever the killer like attacks or takes some sort of like violent action. And it's really, I can't really think of another movie that, I mean, obviously the strings and the kind of music sting when someone gets stabbed or attacked or whatever is nothing new, but this was a pretty unique sound or a unique approach. It was almost like a deep humming screech.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique sounds in this film that I really like, and they compare it, it's contrasted by like this almost kind of like romantic ambient sound to it. It's like a classical ambience, but then there is just some fucking noise happening, and like one of them stuck out to me as just like a super over digitized violin. Like it sounds like a violin string that has been compressed and crunched and blown up, and it is just fucking noise over and over, and I love it. I was watching this and I was going, one, did Mike Patton do this soundtrack? Two, I bet Mike Patton loves this soundtrack.
Yeah. I thought about Mike Patton too, which if you recall, for longtime listeners, go back, or for longtime listeners, you'll know we're talking about the guy who did the music for Hereditary.
No.
And we did a whole.
No.
Wait, no. What's the guy? I'm getting him mixed up.
Colin Stetson.
Getting him mixed up with Colin Stetson. Sorry. Yeah.
Colin Stetson did the music for Hereditary. No, Mike Patton has done tons and tons and tons more films because he's been at it forever. Because he's from Faith No More. He's from Mr. Bungle. And
he's a Mr. Bungle guy. Yep. I was getting him mixed up in my head with the Hereditary guy. Yeah. One of the guy, and I think we've talked about before. Genuinely enjoy. I have to be in the right mood, but genuinely enjoy Mr. Bungle. But I get the feeling he's a Glenn Danzig type in the sense that he's probably absolutely insufferable to be around in person.
It's possible.
I get that feeling.
It's one of those things. I get that feeling too. I get that feeling more often with musicians than anybody else. Just a quick detour. Okay, so clowncore.
Yeah,
I've shown you videos and stuff, and they're one of the supposed members of clowncore is Lewis Cole, and Lewis Cole is probably the top American jazz musician at the moment.
Okay.
As far as just like drummers and things go, he's in other bands. He does like the Lewis Cole Experience, and he has another band called Knower, which is like its own thing.
Yeah.
Incredible talented guy. He seems like he's a fucking asshole though, and he would just not enjoy being around regular people who aren't able to talk about 11 6-time signatures or some shit like that. It just seems like he would hate anybody who doesn't know music as well as he knows music.
Yeah. I get the feeling, and now all I can think of is Stetson. What's the Patton?
Collins.
Mike.
Oh yeah. Colin Stetson, Mike Patton.
Mike Patton. I don't know enough. I haven't watched enough of Colin Stetson aside from the stuff we did for Hereditary, but Mike Patton feels like he's that guy. Yeah. If you don't only listen to like experiential, world music or something like that, he's like he will not give you the time of day.
Yeah. You have to name like 3 records in his record collection without you knowing that you named 3 of his records, and they're all the deepest cuts of everything that you've ever heard of. And then he'll let you into his inner circle. Like you have to like incidentally name drop things that he likes before he even talks to you. It's like a weird rite of passage.
Yeah, I could see that. The overall, I mean, one of the strengths of this movie, sound design's fantastic. That stuck out to me in multiple instances, but specifically really like that kind of like really lended to the intensity and the perception of like extreme violence, which is what this movie's known for, and this kind of subgenre is known for as well. Anyway, some new cops show up because they knew that, there was this report from earlier. They have that perp with them who's like a younger guy who was just out looting and doesn't seem to be a very serious criminal. He was just out like fucking around with his friends, taking advantage of this, whatever chaos is happening, socially at the time. And the intruder, again, gets them to leave. But then Sarah goes up, tries to escape. That's when the stab through the arm happens with the scissors. And then the cops come back and knock again. And I didn't write down why, but I forget. But it's one of those like Columbo, but one more thing kind of situations.
But one more thing, ma'am. It's because they come back and they recognize, the one cop at least, he recognized, oh wait, that lady wasn't pregnant.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, wait, what happened to the pregnancy that they reported?
But he does do kind of a Columbo one more thing, because he comes in, he goes, "Oh, hey, ma'am, sorry to bother you on this, Christmas Eve, but I have just one more question I had. What were you gonna name the baby?"
Yeah. He does do a little gotcha moment, and they hear Sarah upstairs. They're like, "Arrest her!" And this is when she starts to get a little ninja-y. She pulls. Some sort of rod. What is it? I think
it was the other knitting needle.
Is it the other knitting needle? Okay.
Yeah, she just had it like tucked away and pulls it out.
Yeah. Jabs him right through the eye with it. And then grabs his I think she grabs his gun, right? Yeah, she grabs his gun, because then she goes upstairs. The other cop's telling Sarah, like, hey, everything's gonna be all right. We're gonna get out of here. And then his fucking face just explodes because she just pops him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Which is pretty brutal. Yeah, the other cop from outside like runs in. He ties the perp to him. You know what I mean? Like almost like it's just a terrible idea. Puts him like a leash. You put like a bad hyperactive little kid on,
exactly,
and then drags him in. It's like, that was a terrible idea. You heard gunshots. You're gonna tie this fucking guy to you. Just like stick him in the car.
The gun. The way guns are treated in this film are goofy. Like, I know we get a lot of bad rap as Americans for the way we behave with guns.
Sure.
But that's just how the bad ones among us behave. The good ones among us have a lot more discipline and control over our guns. And these cops are giving them out willy-nilly.
Yeah. Just here. Well, he does give them, it's some sort of supposedly non-lethal, crowd control weapon, I believe, that he gives them. But he just does hand it to him, and then he hands a gun later to Sarah. Yeah, so they're just handing people guns. I will say, when I was a kid, and I might have told this joke. It's not a joke. It's a real story that happened in my life. When our super white trash neighbors growing up had two big dangerous Rottweilers that would get loose and like try to attack people around the neighborhood, and we had a barbecue, and it came into our yard and charged like my uncle and like baby niece, and my dad had his 357 Magnum with him and shot the dog several times.
Oh God! No, you haven't told this story.
Yeah, on the run, right? Like shot it. The dog was like 150 pounds and lived for like 7 more years after this.
Jesus.
Hit it right in the chest with a 357 mag, and the dog just ran away.
Oh God!
Like, this is a monster of a dog.
Jesus.
Yeah. Whenever we called the police, obviously, after that happened, and the neighbors weren't home, and the cop went over with my dad to the neighbor's house because the dog had run back over and it ran under their trailer. Yeah. And the cop, they were trying to get at the dog, like try to figure out what was going on, if it was under there, if it was still like loose and dangerous. And they were looking underneath the trailer, and the cop just got a shotgun out of his cruiser and gave it to my dad and was like, I'm going to look under there. And if that dog comes out, you blast it. That's some white trash shit. How you like that? And then we had a feud for like 10 years after this too with these neighbors.
You did.
But the dog survived. It was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we had a feud with our neighbor just because their dog got our dog pregnant, but like it's just what happens.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, you had a fucking blood feud going.
Yeah.
That's definitely fucking like rural police behavior though.
Yeah.
Right? Here, you take this weapon, give me back up, because we have no deputies.
Yeah. He was a constable. And now we have like a more legitimate police force, but at the time, we did not. And there was just a constable, and his name has escaped me right now. But he was just this dorky little guy, and he used to yell at us for like yelling swear words at the basketball games. And wait, damn it, his name was on the tip of my tongue. And we'd be like, just from the bleachers, we'd be like, shut the fuck up, blah, blah, whatever his name was. I keep wanting to say Doofy. It's not Doofy, but it's something like that we called him. And he'd be like, I heard that. it was literally like some fucking yeah, it was very stereotypical country shit. Anyway, so this cop, is just hands the this like non-lethal, I don't know if it's like a beanbag rounds or something kind of double barrel apparatus, I don't know what the fuck it is, to the perp. So they're in there trying to like bandage up Sarah, and you do get this cool shot of like the intruder walking behind them. They don't see her, and she goes and cuts the power. So now they're in the dark. They decide to leave Sarah upstairs and go like turn the power back on and call for backup. And Sarah just goes, time to take a nap. She leaves him with a gun. She goes into the bedroom, lays down, puts the gun down. I don't know if I missed something and they thought that the intruder was gone, but it seemed to be an interesting decision to just lay down and just close your eyes and put the gun down to your side.
Like they told her that the intruder escaped out the window, and then the power goes. Then the power goes out, but like that's still kind of on her for not just being on guard of like the intruder came back in and cut the power, because like it's obvious. Okay, she went out one window, came back to the ground floor, and came just right back in the front door that the police came in, and then cut the power in the breaker in the living room.
Sure.
It's an easy thing to imagine that's what happened. They're a little bit bumbling in this sequence here.
Yeah, they're a little overmatched. They're not really sure what's going on. They decide they're going to, instead of just getting the fuck up out of it, they decide they're going to go turn on the power. So he drags the guy who's tied to him downstairs or handcuffed to him. And they're just having a little, like they're trying to put on the power. It's like, guys, you could have been out of the house with Sarah 10 times over by now. Like, why are we so worried about the fucking power? Meanwhile, they get ninja'd basically in the dark. They're backing around with their weapons. The guy, the perp had like put down the little, whatever that non-lethal weapon they had was, and it gets snagged. Yeah. And then they're backing around. All of a sudden, the cop just gets it like pressed up to the side of his head and just gets blasted in the side of the head. We assume it's off screen with whatever this. I assume it's like riot control, like beanbag rounds or. I think it was like a flash. I think it was a flashbang gun.
Oh, okay. So like it shot. It shot grenades, and so he took just 2 grenades right to each eye socket. It doesn't play very well. Yeah. Because you obviously don't see that happen, but he takes 2 grenades undetonated to the eye sockets, and assumed that kills him.
Yeah, he's at the very least out of commission here. Meanwhile, the perp gets just brained with the scissors. Because again, she's a fucking ninja. She sticks him right through his fucking forehead. Like I said, luckily Sarah's taking a nap upstairs without her gun. The intruder comes and like starts to do like sexy stuff to Sarah. I don't know, like kissing her and stuff. And then Sarah bites her lip off. And it's just like, why were you doing that? It's a little bit at odds with what you're doing up to this point.
Why'd you make that choice?
Yeah. Now is just like, the fight just spills out. Like hardcore rules apply. Like the fight continues down the stairs. Sarah, still has the world's most lethal fucking knitting needle. And she like holds it to the baby. Like, I'm going to stab myself with this if you don't back up, because she knows that she wants the baby. And then she's quickly just double Jade off with a fucking toaster. Just bashes her in the head with a toaster. And I submit that a toaster is actually an underappreciated, maybe even top 10 horror movie weapon. Just getting bashed in the head with a metal toaster. It's a great. Yeah. That's like the steel chair of horror movies.
Especially because she uses it like a medieval flail. And that she swings it by the electric cord. And this is also great because the music at this point, this is back to the soundtrack. The music is like this swelling kind of romantic French ambient synth that's happening. And then she fucking gets brained with a toaster, and the music hard cuts like a fucking punchline. It cuts like a punchline, but then it replaces it with this thrumming, just like
ear ringing type of
yeah. Just another like bizarre soundscape that is just like, very much mimics, like getting a concussion.
It reminds me of like when you would get like flashbanged in like the old Call of Duty games or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Then this is a great moment because she's got her like dead to right. She's going to climb on top of her. She's going to, stab her and take the baby or whatever. And then she decides she's going to have that cigarette because that's what she does. And just as she flicks her lighter, Sarah starts blasting her in the face with an aerosol can. And she holds the lighter down, which is great. But here's the thing that cracked me up with this, and it being a Christmas movie makes a lot of sense. It was so reminiscent of the moment in Home Alone,
right,
where Joe Pesci pops his head in, and the trip, it's like a cord hooked up to an old style. I don't know if it's like some sort of fire starter or something like that, but it's some sort of thing that just shoots flames onto his scalp, and he pauses there for a moment, going, "Oh!" Like it's a famous scene from the movie, right? And then he goes outside and sticks his burnt head in the snow. This reminded me so much of that because she's like, ah, she's just holding position as her face gets melted.
Yeah. Her head isn't even moving around like she's not trying to go one way or the other. She's just letting herself get burned up and then runs away. And as she's running away, it's also kind of like Home Alone because she has like embers falling off of her. Mm-hmm. And I remember like that's something that just like goes on with Home Alone. Like there's embers falling off Harry's head as he fucking runs out into the into the snowbank.
Like falls down the stairs for the ninth time or whatever.
Right.
So you think she's donezo, or she's not donezo because she ran away, but she's in a bad way, right? She's kind of even the score. Meanwhile, now Sarah has to. This is a great example of just like French extremism horror, where they're just like we're just going to add a couple of little really brutal details that really don't add to the plot, but that's what we're going to do. Where she has to then give herself a tracheotomy and then duct tapes her own throat up. And it's just like, we didn't need that to move the story forward. The movie's almost over, but
no, she didn't even like get choked or anything. That's the one thing that bothered me of like, she didn't suffer a trauma to her throat that made sense to give herself a tracheotomy. Like I know she was selling it like that, but they never had like a thing where like she's got choked with if she got choked with the cord from the toaster, sure. I was like, okay, maybe. Yeah. But otherwise, it's kind of like, what is going on
What
here?
made your windpipe like collapse or fill with fluid? I mean, any number of traumas that happened up to this point, I guess. But yeah, it's not something you can specifically point to. So it feels a little forced, but pretty intense, obviously. So James said it was the secondhand smoke that did it. That's why she had to give herself a tracheotomy. Yep. That's fair. So then here's what it does, I guess, is it says this woman, and this is a trope of the subgenre too, is like this super badass final girl or protagonist or whatever that is going to overcome everything. But spoiler alert, ultimately, the chips are just too stacked against them. So this is her overcoming stuff that like maybe a quote unquote normal person wouldn't. She's tough as nails, all that stuff. So now Sarah starts like, she gets juiced up. She starts shaking. The Hulkamaniacs are chanting, she's getting all juiced up, ready to go on the offensive. And she starts using the camera flash to illuminate as she searches for the intruder. Is this the first movie that does that I can remember? There's got to be an older one, but this has become a pretty common trope. I mean, using the flash.
So I remember when we did our episode that featured You're Next, I thought that one was kind of the first one that did it because I had not seen this movie, obviously. but now obviously, this one does it first. So but still, you have to imagine like there's something in the 90s that did it first. You know,
gotta be right. I'm sure there is. I feel like I've seen it. I just can't place it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, well done. And they don't linger on it too much, right? She finds her in the closet, and she is good, as you might expect. She's all melt faced, and she's like, "You can't kill me again, Sarah. You already did once." And then you get the flashback kind of thing of apparently her telling her, but we get the flashback of the intruder woman. She was the other driver who was also preggers, and the baby who got bonked in the early, in the opening was actually her baby, and she lost her baby, but Sarah didn't. So she's pissed and is like, "I want your baby now." So that's a little twisty-roo. So the cop wakes back up, turns on the power. The power just comes on, then you see him over there, and he's a dang mess because, like you said, he took those whatever grenades or something to the head, so his face is all dicked up. He's like brain damaged. He's like barely functional, and he just starts wailing on Sarah with his nightstick. Which at this point you're like, oh, he's like literally hitting her in the stomach. Like, I feel like that baby is not in a good spot right now. But like, this is literally police brutality against the baby. Like, the baby just wailing on her. Yeah. And then Sarah's like, I'm going to say it this way, and it's not a pretty way of saying it, but Sarah's crotch just barfs a bunch of bloody juice everywhere. It
explodes everything out.
It's rough. This is basically what happens to me after I eat like international Chinese buffet, and like it's just, except for out of my butthole, obviously.
Right. Yeah. But once you've eaten sushi that's been sitting on a, out in the open air for 45 minutes, and you put it in yourself, and then you heap a bunch of coconut jelly on top of it, as well as a bunch of peanut butter chicken. That's what asses do. All right, folks.
It looks exactly like this.
Yeah.
Just out of my body.
Let's not shame people for the way foods treat our insides. It's just the way it happens. God made it that way.
Yeah, explosive diarrhea out of all of her crotch area. But it's just baby juice and blood and all types of stuff. It's pretty brutal. Meanwhile, the maniac, now Sarah had found some sort of like, I don't know, elongated stabbing implement. I don't know, I remember exactly where it came from, but ultimately the lunatic lady gets a hold of it, stabs the cop, and does him in, because of course she's trying to save the baby. She wants the baby. So now Sarah decides she's going to try to crawl up the stairs for some reason. And now we are treated to an amateur C-section in brutal detail shown that is performed by, a fucking weird melt face lady. And it's rough. And then fade to melt face snuggling with the baby. The baby's alive, apparently, because at first you're like, is that baby dead? But then the baby starts doing little goo goo gagas, and the baby's alive. And then you cut back to Sarah, full view of Sarah on the stairs, torn up, dead, guts out. But, the baby's alive. But Meltface has the baby.
Just absolutely hollowed. It is
brutal, gross. Yep. And that's it. That's the end of the movie. It's a real feel-good finisher here.
Yeah, real Christmas flick for the times. You completely again. I was trying, once my original metaphor fell apart, I was trying to find another one possibly. I was like, is there a Christmas thing happening here? Well, not really. She's just kind of baby stealing, but I mean, I guess that is a Christmas baby. Yeah, I don't know. It's the season of giving, I guess. She gave her baby.
Do you think the three cops were the three wise men, and that one of those the gun didn't shoot flashbangs? It shot like frankincense and myrrh or something. I don't know. I'm just making shit up.
Maybe. maybe it was the three cops, and then the other kid He was like the little drummer boy.
He was the little drummer boy. That's what I was going to say. He was, he, you know, as happens in the Rankin Bass special, the little drummer boy gets stabbed between the eyes.
Like God wasn't at the birth of Jesus. Just like her husband wasn't there because he was dead and in heaven.
Right.
God is dead, isn't in heaven.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's all
God's
there.
God's at the bingo hall while his kids are being born. Like a DJ.
Stupid, lazy, shitty God.
All right. That's it, guys. And this is a pretty good poster child type of movie for this like new French extremism type of genre. Right. It's brutal. It's wildly violent, usually some really effective practical effects and not always, but quite frequently a very dismal, almost nihilistic ending.
Yeah. I am really surprised I hadn't seen this one before the other ones because this one has like of like the French extreme that I remember, this one kind of has like the best ending, and it is the most like tied up the best.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I think the Martyrs ending is better. I think Martyrs overall is better. But
I mean, that's probably the most well known of the subgenre, right?
Right. But I know a lot of people still have problems with the ending and everything, and find it a little too extreme. High Tension has the ending that's kind of bad. I definitely put Inside above like Frontiers and Calvaire, though. Like Frontiers and Calvaire are kind of fun, but they're also just very much ripping from Texas Chainsaw, almost, you know, beat for beat, like Texas Chainsaw or any of the other kind of, you know, mutant family type deals.
That's what I was trying to look up some other ones. By the way, I'm just realizing now that I kept saying new French extremism, and it's typically referred to as new French extremity, but but you get the idea. You know what I'm talking about here. Don't come at me. I'm trying to look up a list to try to get an idea of some other ones to check out that I might be forgetting. A lot of these, to be honest with you, I haven't seen. There is a maybe this is a subgenre I need to get a little deeper down because as frequent listeners will know, and people who follow us on social media, I've been down a real J-horror path lately. Been watching all the J-horror that I can possibly find. Kind of obsessed with it right now. But man, there's a lot. Calvaire. I mean, one of the few I've seen on this list. Now, this is a deep dive list. Inside's there.
The Horde's also good. I've also seen lists put Gaspar Noé on there with Irreversible and Enter the Void. And while I like those movies, Irreversible is such a hard watch. Irreversible, that one is rough. But
it's brutal. I was just about to say Enter the Void. It is on this list too.
Yeah. I like Enter the Void as well. Like I think those are good films, and like check them out. You probably will only watch Irreversible once if you can stomach it. But I kind of just don't put them in the same category as the rest of these films because they're a little too arty. Yeah. That's all. Yeah.
Interesting. On this list, now this is a pretty expansive list, but Raw on here as well, which is much more recent than you would think of for, you know, I feel like I think of the cutoff for the subgenre as like 2010, you know, or something like that.
Right.
And this Raw was 2016. So a little bit, but undoubtedly highly. This has like Titan on here, which I don't necessarily think of in the same way. This is just French horror. Like it says new French extremity, but this is literally just every French horror movie on this list, I think.
Yeah, like Titan isn't even really horror. Like it has a lot of weird moments to it, and it has like some body horror stuff to it. But like it is just kind of its own arty prospect. Raw and Revenge from 2017. I say both. Like, I mean, Revenge is fucking brutal with the violence. It is like there is some cringe stuff in there, and I think they both kind of, hold the mantle for films like this from the early 2000s. But I don't call them New French Extreme, because at this point, New French Extreme has already been remade or adopted by America, just kind of regurgitated back out into the world. So like, yeah, they're not doing anything new, but they're still good movies.
Yeah.
So I just don't put them in the same movement is all.
Yeah. They have on here another one, which I know I've seen, but I don't know if I finished, which is Sombre from 1998, which would have been quite early. Anyway, yeah, these are a few that I need to check off. But of course, it has like number 1 Martyrs, Inside, High Tension. Yeah. These are all amongst the top 5. So anyway, yeah, maybe we should do a couple more two treaties movies subgenre, because they are intense, guys. A whole lot more intense than the movie that I have now graduated onto, which was the Silent Night. It's just called Silent Night, but it's essentially the Silent Night, Deadly Night remake from a few years ago. It doesn't have a lot to do with Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's fucking poop. Anyway, guys, if you've got some Christmas horror movies, because that's what I'm going to be digging into here over the next month or so, send them our way, because there's a lot of new ones coming out, and a lot of them are hot dung. So always love to get some good suggestions. Also, rest in ponies to the great Tony Todd. Oh, that one made me sad. That one. He was not that old. I don't know if he was sick. I don't know what happened. But
he was
Tony
69.
Todd,
so
yeah,
but I mean, it's not that old, but still, it was a surprise, because I didn't hear about him being sick either.
He's always active and stuff and everything. But yeah, that was a brutal one. So, yeah, he
was my birthday buddy. Him and I share a birthday.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
so that fucking bummed me out. But also, I just love all his work. I was talking about it on the social media and stuff, but like, he just put everything into any role that he did, no matter how small. So like, he has like a bunch of TV appearances.
Yeah,
and those episodes are like the best episodes. His appearance on Deep Space Nine as Sisko's adult son is probably considered. Yeah,
I completely forgot about that. I watched like all of Deep Space Nine because my grandfather was obsessed with. He was a big Star Trek guy, but he was obsessed with Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, he's on 2 episodes of Star Trek. I think he's a Klingon in an episode of Next Generation. Yeah, and then he's Sisko's adult son in an episode of Deep Space Nine, and it's one of the most widely regarded episodes. He's in an episode of The X-Files, which he just throws his whole body into. There's an episode of the show I watched that is just fucking garbage. It's called Criminal Minds, but like my parents
watch Criminal Minds.
Yeah, it's a fucking garbage show, but I like it.
Yeah.
But he's in the first season of that, and I wasn't watching it for him, but he popped up, and then he only has a couple scenes, but like they're heartbreaking scenes of like a dude who's been accused of, being a family annihilator, I believe, if I remember the episode. But like, and he like is crying, and everybody else around him can't fucking act for shit except for Mandy Patinkin in that first season. But yeah. Fucking great actor.
The guy could act his fucking face off, and love. The older I get, the more I appreciate Candyman as well. And I still haven't went back and watched some of the sequels. Anyway, all right, guys. Again, send those suggestions. We're getting into some holiday horror here. Anything else, Steve, that we should be mentioning before we wrap up this son of a bitch and punishment episode? Thanks again, James, for the suggestion. Enjoyed this movie, and it's inspired me to check out some more New French Extremity. Anything else, Steve?
No, yeah. Thanks for punishing James and making me watch a good movie I hadn't seen before. You really fucking got me, bud.
Yeah, Steve is uncomfortable when people do nice things for him.
Yeah.
He wants dirt to be ground into his like beard, like stomp on him, kick him in the nuts. Yeah. And that's the only time he's although we haven't had any like really, really brutally horrible punishment episodes recently, but I promise you, if I win, when I win, I'm bringing the heat.
I've been sitting on a fucking nuke, and I'm so fucking mad that these goddamn motherfuckers keep winning on Instagram and shit. Ooh, I'm gonna fucking blow this show up. I don't give a shit.
You can't see. Steve's tenting his fingers like Mr. Burns right now.
Excellent.
Excellent. All right, boys and ghouls, for the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
Hey, Smithers, get me the Danzig movie.
Oh, no, not the Danzig movie. Oh.
You're a creep. Get away from me.